Okay, now that I've gone over 4 games with the Colle, let's go back to the lab, as I call it, and look at the Colle in more detail. So let's just start. So for white, d4, d5. Black could also play knight f6. We've seen these moves before, and I've covered them. Knight f3, knight f6, e3. Now you know as white, or as black, the person probably know that you're going to play a Colle now. E6, some people would complain by black that they wouldn't play this move because it shuts in the white bishop, but it is the main line in the Colle. D3, C5, and right when you see C5 uh, from black as white, you're going to play C3. That way, if they play C4, you can just move your bishop back. But they shouldn't do that. It wouldn't be a good move by black. Knight to C6. Attacking D4 again, developing the bishop. Knight on D to B2. We see just a familiar setup by white. Bishop to D6. I'm sorry. Castles, castles. And now maybe the first move that we need to discuss, where white plays this move. It looks a little mysterious, but what are the options and what can happen? Well, the first move that I wouldn't recommend by white is just playing e4. I mean rook to e1, because this is black's move. If you don't take this pawn on the last move, black's going to play e5, and this looks like a monster pawn center. So if you play rook to e1, play is going to continue. Black's best move is e5, and what would continue is that you'd take d takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, knight to f3, and then the bishop's going to have to retreat. And then you're sort of left as white going, what should I do? I need to get this this guy out right here. So I need to move the e-pawn up, but you can't move the e-pawn up. So what are you going to do? Well, probably the best move by white is c4. So you can tell that didn't really lead to uh, um, a good resolution for white. So let's just back up. So rook to e1, probably not a good idea. A playable move in this case is actually playing the queen to e2. We see this in other games. But still black is going to play e5, but the result is not going to be as bad for white. That this is actually still playable, but it's not the main line. So in this case, you would just play d takes c5, a bishop takes c5. You're going to push the pawn to e4 because now you can, because it's supported by the queen there. H6. Basically, I'm going to call that a waiting move, because if black takes on e4, white's going to get an advantage that we'll see in a later line. So it's playing a waiting move, and it's going to give its king some air. And there's also this Colle sacrifice, which I'll go over. So this move is just sort of a, I call it a Colle waiting move, maybe. It's a lack of a better term. E takes d5. Knight takes d5, c4, rook to e8. So that's how that game would continue. I think that is a playable variation. But if we back up, the reason why white plays d takes c5 is that white's ultimate goal is to actually give black a isolated pawn and have a queenside majority, and this is going to help this. So d takes c5, also deflecting the bishop, but Actually, what it will do is that after the bishop retakes, then it's actually going to give white some problem, because it's going to put the king, the bishop on this line attacking the king. So now, after that move, white can actually play e4. Obviously, white wants to play the move. Whoops. Um, e5, evicting the knight. So one playable or the one playable move, or black's going to play queen to c7 to prevent that. Another move could say, well, why doesn't just black play d takes e4 because of this? And notice a similarity with the past variation. Knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes e4, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, and I'd actually say white has at least a slight advantage here. Queenside pawn majority, and maybe slightly better developed. So instead, when white plays e4, black's going to play queen to c7, preventing e5. Well, then white's just going to play queen to e2, renewing the threat. What's the best way to respond? Well, bishop to d6 to stop the e4 e5 push. White renews it. Now you get to say, well, when it's coming. So what actually black's going to plan to do is play something like this to stop the push. So knight to g4, h3, knight on g to e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and then black now gets the isolated pawn with the e takes d5, e takes d5, knight to f3. White gets a nice advantage with an isolated pawn and a queenside pawn majority. So that is the basic main line for the Colle. I do want to back up and show you the what's called the classical Colle sacrifice. Whoops. And occurred at this move 10 by black. So let's say queen e2, renewing the threat here, and black does nothing about it. Let's just say black plays b6, planning on developing the bishop here, and let's white get in this move e5. Then the knight's going to go to g4, and now white has this opportunity to sacrifice over here with bishop takes h7 check, king takes h7, knight to g5 check, king to g8, queen takes g4, queen takes e5, and not really a sacrifice. And actually, white really can't checkmate, because if white goes to one of these two squares so that it can just come down here and checkmate, then black's just going to move to f5 here. So that is the basics of the Colle. I'll hopefully continue some other variations in the next video.